Oh my God, goodness. I just did all of that with my microphone on mute. So I had a whole plan, a whole intro, and I muted my microphone. You might notice I'm using a microphone today. I'm hoping that this will create a slightly better sound quality. You can let me know if I'm right on that one, or you can just ignore it. Now, if you're watching on Facebook, this will be making no difference to you. This is only relevant on YouTube. However, what I will say is that I'm very much hoping to, I think I might have found a way of streaming using the same thing to Facebook at You're Joking Me. You're joking. Am I getting bad signal already? I've literally just started. Is it giving me bad signal already? What's going on with my... Nothing's happening on Facebook at the moment. It keeps saying it's trying to reconnect, but it's not. There you go. Right, Facebook people, hello. I hope we're all back. I got rid of my internet connection. Looks like it's fine over on YouTube. So it's obviously a phone issue. Anyway, I'm hoping this sound's coming through absolutely fine. If you could let me know and just say the words "sound is fine, Duncan," that would be fan-dabby-dozy because, well, A, I like saying fan-dabby-dozy, but B, it would just give me that little bit of information. Fantastic sound made Helen jump as her volume was up full. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, well, I just thought I'd try something a little bit different. I've got this desk. It belongs to Mask, actually, the charity that runs these sessions. And yeah, I thought I'd give it a go. But again, on Facebook, if you're listening, you're not getting the benefit of this wonderful sound system. And it made me jump when I remembered that I hadn't pressed the on button for the microphone. So it's Father's Day. I hope you all saw my picture of my father on Facebook earlier. It's good, you know, me and my dad, we've got a lot in common, especially the tentacles growing out of our faces. My wife's made me a cup of tea. Everyone's doing well. Although I'd imagine the microphone really picks up the sound of my tea. So today, it is Richard III. I suppose a story of some kind of, you know, well, there's no patricide in this, is there? But there is, what would it be, nepticide? What is it, killing your nephews? If that happens, I don't know. I haven't read it. All I know is the historical context of this book, of this play, very much, because this happens to be one of my wife's favourite periods in history. And you know I love history, especially kings and queens kinds of history. We've... I know a bit about this stuff. A fuller sound today. Oh, I like that. Thank you very much. Oh no, that was going to be a rubbish joke. I'm going to pretend I wasn't going to say it. So Helen has said hello, Duncan. Hello, Tamsin. Jessica has said hello, Duncan. Hello, Tamsin. Jessica says, "Ooh, I could crush a grape." Which I love. Lozzie has just said hello. The girls forgot it was Father's Day, so I got nothing. Do you know, we don't really do it. I remember one year I got my dad some butter beans for Father's Day. And normally all I do really is just insult my father. That's the general plan on Father's Day is to just insult him. We don't do it. It just doesn't, why pretend to my dad that I'm going to be nice to him one day when he knows that he's only going to get abusive text messages the rest of the year round? He'd just believe it was fake. So, why single out a special day? I like pointing out my skeleton here. It's really cool. Skeleton there. Just all rib cages and stuff. And then all the muscles just there. And I like the fact that I've made this joke so many times, but I like it because up here, your abdominals are apparently not just called abdominals. They're actually called rectus abdominis, which sounds to me like from that film where it goes rectus abdominis. And then here, rectus ephemeris quadriceps sartorius. There we go. That's what I say. That's all we have to do with Latin is just say parts of the body. My favourite one, though, gastrocnemius. Right, shall I shush? And we'll go on with Richard III. So accents, please. Richard III. Now, obviously, turned out that he was buried in Leicester, didn't it? So I could try and do some kind of Midlands accent. I don't know how that's going to work out. Come on, reconnection successful. And it still says that it's not receiving enough. I don't know what to do. I give up really. We're just gonna crack on, and it should all catch up. Eventually, it will catch up. You might get a bit of Richard of York. Better be Yorkshire, yeah, but he's the Duke of York. He's not actually from Yorkshire. But I suppose, yes. Okay, Richard of York. He can be Yorkshire. Wasn't it his dad that was actually Richard of York? As in, because he's the Duke of Gloucester. His dad was the Duke of York, as was his brother. I mean, look, I might be wrong. I can't remember. But I thought Richard of... Anyway. But then he was of the House of York, so he still is Richard of York. We'll go for a Yorkshire accent. So, there we go. Hello, I'm Richard, Duke of Gloucester. Later, King Richard III. Right. Duke of Buckingham, a follower of Richard. He's got a shining face, so he's going like that. Hello, I'm Duke of Buckingham. He's still of the House of York, Tamsin. You don't have to say, oh, yes, my mistake, because he's still of the House of York. That's the whole point. He's still fighting for the Yorkist side. Henry Tudor. Henry Tudor. I think Henry Tudor, that's Henry VII. He's a very boring king, actually. Once he won, that is it for him. He's just like, oh, I've won now. Do you know what? Just to sidetrack before we carry on. I kind of made a decision that I probably wouldn't do the Kings and Queens of England thing, because it would require quite a bit of work, because I'd have to do loads of research. As it is, I don't know if you noticed, I rock up. As much work goes into setting up the feed as goes into actually reading this book. I bought the books and now I've read them. So I might just see if I can find some other kinds of books I can do. Maybe, Dickens, maybe. But if I can't find something like that, I still might do a few history ones, because it's such a fascinating thing to look at the life of kings and queens. And every time I start talking about them, I always think, oh no, I'm really very interested, like not even partly interested. I'm so interested. But anyway, Henry Tudor was apparently a very boring king, was my point. So I think he's going to speak like this. I mean, obviously he won the Battle of Fulford Bridge? Battle of Fulford. No, that's different. Oh my goodness. There I am saying how much I love. It's like the most famous one, because that's where Richard III, it's gone. Somebody remind me what the battle is at the end of this. I'm sure it will come up. But it's gone from my head. Fulford is 1066. Oh man. Anyway, King Edward IV. Well, if Richard's going to have a hello, but Edward's his brother, so he's got to have that. Bosworth Field, thank you. Goodness me, honestly, I don't know what happened to my brain. Thank you very much, Tamsin. What a moment in my life, that. Embarrassing. Maybe I shouldn't do a history thing. King Edward IV, right up here. So he's going to talk like that as well. But maybe he can be a bit more of a lad about it. Hello, I'm King Edward IV. I was not a very nice man, really. I was a bit of, had wasn't wonderfully monogamous, ate lots of food, I know that, but then who doesn't? So that's him up there, and Richard III down there. Okay. Prince Edward, now that is King Edward's son, but he was raised in London, so he's going to speak. No, in fact, hello, Daddy. This is how he's going to speak. And also, Richard, Duke of York, he's going to speak like that too. They're both going to speak like that, because that's how it's going to come out. So here we are. Any other accents? Do just let me know other accents in the comments here, and that way I'll just pick, like, if you just throw some accents in there, whoever comes up that isn't listed. Swedish, Megan, Swedish. Okay. I don't know. It might be a bit culturally insensitive, but I'll do my best. So. Oh my goodness. It's written in the first person, from the point of view, as far as I can tell, of Richard III. So I've got to speak the whole story like this, if that's going to be his voice. Hello. Okay. Right. Well, we'll see how long I can keep this up, shall we? Okay. Now I've got to move this way a bit, so I'll angle the microphone towards myself. So, Richard III. Visit the battleground at Bosworth Field alone, and you will meet me. Oh, don't need to do that, do I? I was doing that like you normally get the pictures, but you don't. And you will meet me without knowing it. My restless spirit will seem to be the sighing of the wind through the branches of the tree, or the sighing of the wind, all through the branches of the tree. One day, son, all this will be yours. Uh, or the creeping shadow of a passing cloud. Long ago, I was flesh and blood like you. I was king until I came here. On this field, I lost me crown, me kingdom, and me life. Before I became Richard III, I was Richard, Duke of Gloucester. That's fun to say in this accent. Son of the House of York. Though my deformed back and withered arm earned me other titles. Richard Crookback. My enemies called me Hedgehog and Spider. The spider one doesn't really make much sense, does it? I had many names and many enemies. Menemies, if you will. Chiefly in the House of Lancaster. For almost 30 years, the Yorkists and the Lancastrians made war to decide who would rule England. Oh, Tamsin just said, and me horse. At some point, I hope it says, oh, me horse, me horse. A kingdom for me horse. A bit of Welsh or Cockney. Okay, well, we'll see what happens when we get to it. For almost 30 years, the Yorkists and Lancastrians made war to decide who would rule England. Me brother Edward was king until he was overthrown and exiled by King Henry, but he came back, with me and our brother George, Duke of Clarence, at his side. King Henry was imprisoned in the Tower of London, for his own safety, naturally. Our armies marched west and won a glorious victory over Edward, Prince of Wales, at Tewkesbury. Jessica, you're saying exactly what I'm thinking. But father, I just want to sing. Anyway, I watched that the other day. The prince was captured unharmed, but somehow met with an unfortunate accident and died of stab wounds. While me brothers celebrated, I returned to London and paid a secret visit to the king in the tower and gave him the sad news of his son's death. Poor Henry was too gentle and too holy to live in this world. So I sent him to the next with the point of me dagger and gave it out that he died of grief. By the way, this is kind of written in a voice. It works. Gave it out that he had died of grief. I like it. The old king's tragic death set me thinking. The Yorkists had triumphed over the Lancastrians, but the result was more like a truce than peace. Just below the uneasy surface lay mistrust, hatred, and the desire for revenge. Given such a situation, it grieved me to consider what wickedness a mischievous person might do simply by dropping hints and spreading rumours. Tamsin. A whippet. My kingdom for a whippet. By the way, I would give up most of what I've got if it meant I could have a whippet. I grew up with whippets. Genuinely. This isn't Richard III saying this. This is me. Genuinely. I love whippets. My favourite dog by about 1 billion miles. And I love dogs, and they're still my favourite. My way was clear. I could have supported my brother the king and toiled to reconcile the houses of York and Lancaster, but peacekeeping and peacekeeping, that was not to my taste. The time was ripe for someone to play the villain, and I was determined to be that someone. I would deceive and double deal and smile even as I committed murder. When wars end, the victors often fall out. So it was with us. I made certain with it. I'm going to have some tea because I've been developing a sore throat over the last couple of months. It's Yorkshire tea, though. It's not. It's from Tesco. So, I bet that gulp came right through. Terrible. Now, where was I? During his exile, my brother Edward was struck with a wasting disease that gave him a hollow cough and stretched his skin tightly over his bones. With the throne regained, he ruled England, but his sickness ruled him. He feared plots against him and spoke daily with astrologers, fortune tellers, and the like. You all heard that gulp. Oh, that's a shame. My wife hates gulps. I'm normally trying to train myself, but the microphone's pointing straight at my throat. There's not much I can do about it. I suppose, look, let's try this one. Watch. There we go. We got a mute button for a reason. Okay. Can't hear. Oh, someone says can't hear the gulping. Well, maybe I was being trolled when they said they could hear the gulp. Anyway, but his sickness ruled him. He feared plots against him and spoke daily with astrologers, fortune tellers, and the like. It's written like it's from a Yorkshire. The night I received the news that the king had issued a warrant for the arrest of the Duke of Clarence. Hold on, which one's Duke of Clarence? That's his brother, right? Yeah, he's not mentioned here, but the Duke of Clarence is George, right? I'm saying that from the history of my brain, not from... Oh, yeah, George was the Duke of Clarence. There we go. I ain't hear no gulp. I ain't afraid no gulp. The night I received news that the king had issued a warrant for the arrest of the Duke of Clarence, I hurried to Clarence's house and met him in the street outside, accompanied by armed guards. "Why has our brother Edward done this to Clarence?" I cried. George of Clarence. Clarence laughed carelessly. He's going to have a similar accent, isn't he? Because they're all brothers. He's going to have to be lower because the other one's... Because my name is George, he said. Some half-crazed wizard told him that his sons would be cheated of the throne by a man whose name begins with G. "This is the Queen's doing," I growled. "She encourages the king's wild imaginings." The captain of the guard saluted me. "One day, lad, all this'll be yours." "Hey, Helen, stop jumping ahead in the story. We'll get there. I believe that's coming." This is not historically accurate. I've already noticed a few things wrong with this. We'll talk about the historical inaccuracies afterwards. "I'm sorry, my Lord Gloucester, but I was given orders that no one should be allowed to talk to the prisoner," he said. Oh, who said that? Have I taken 2 pages? Oh, no, that was the captain of the guard. So he probably said, "I'm sorry, my Lord Gloucester, but I was given orders that no one should be allowed to talk to the prisoner," he said. "Please stand aside and let me do my duty." "Very well," I agreed. "Don't worry, Clarence. I'll make sure that you're not imprisoned long." As the guards marched their prisoner away to the tower, I smiled to myself, for it was I who had taught the wizard what to say to the king, and paid him to say it. Name beginning with G. Geoffrey. Could be. It was I who had told him to say that to the king, and it was I who paid him to say it. "Ah, Clarence," I sighed, "as your brother, I want only the best for you, and it would be best if your soul was safe in heaven. I will arrange it soon, I promise you." The first part of my plan had been successful. With a light heart, he's just sent his brother off to death. With a light heart, I made my way to Westminster to begin the second part, winning myself a bride. I know who he marries. History. The interior of the abbey was glowing with candlelight. Great stone pillars soared up into the darkness around me as I searched for the side chapel, where the coffin containing the body of the late King Henry lay awaiting burial the following morning. The coffin had been placed on an altar and draped with an embroidered cloth. Before the altar, dressed in mourning robes, Lady Anne, the widow of Prince Edward. I had heard her beauty praised, though she was a little past her prime. That's harsh. But I had heard talk also that she was weak-willed and easily led, like most women in Shakespeare plays, unless they're shrews. Anyway, now I was about to put that rumour to test. To test, couldn't help myself. Look, by the way, look at the picture of him. That's him there. Hello. He wasn't like that. He just had scoliosis, but we'll get to that. Lady Anne turned as she heard me slip into the chapel. Her eyes widened in loathing. We haven't had Lady Anne, have we? So what have we had? Swedish. She is Swedish. Okay, so that's how she speaks. "What dark magician conjured? Let's try it again, but can't speak properly. What dark... Well, let me try again for a third time. Third time is the charm. What dark magician conjured you up, my friend? My fiend. Ah, I can't read the words properly because I can't speak Swedish. Okay, she hissed. I bowed. I learned that you were keeping vigil here. Oh, now it's me. Uh, sorry, Swedish has thrown me, by the way. So thanks for this, Megan. We're gonna jump back a bit. I'm gonna try again from the top of the page. Lady Anne turned as she heard me slip into the chapel. Her eyes widened in loathing. What dark magician conjured you up, my friend? Fiend. Fiend. It's fiend. It says fiend. She hissed. I bowed. I learned that you were keeping vigil here tonight. I came to offer you my respects. Lady Anne quivered. Well, I don't want your respects, you filthy toad. I swear I can do a better Swedish accent than this. I get caught up. I was complaining to my wife the other day. I was saying to her, I don't know. I'm so much better at accents than anything that you would believe on here. I'm not joking. I'm definitely much better than it comes across. Anyway, I don't want your respect, you filthy toad. She raged. I want the earth to open up and swallow you back down to hell. I'm so sorry. How do we go from there? Up north. Oh, here we go. I don't know what angels could be so angry, I said, flinching. Why do you speak so harshly to me? Well, you murdered my husband, screeched Lady Anne. Man, going from Swedish to Yorkshire is tricky. Here we go. Was he? I've lost it. Hello. So I did. But do you know why? I retorted. Because your lovely face burned in my every waking thought and in all my dreams. The idea of you in someone else's arms was more than I could bear. Jealousy drove me out of my wits. What I love. Look, Lady Anne's feelings showed in her look. She was both horrified and fascinated. Not just horrified, she's easily led. I've killed her husband and her father-in-law. And she was horrified and fascinated, as though she found me repellent yet attractive. Can I just say, ladies, if any of you were to kill my wife, I can say this in my normal voice, if any of you were to kill my wife, I would not be fascinated and I wouldn't find you somehow attractive. No, what would happen is I would get you imprisoned and hope that you stayed there forever. That's what would happen. I wouldn't be like, but they found me attractive. They were jealous. No, it's not going to happen. Not that I would expect any woman to be so smitten with me that they... Anyway. Then came my masterstroke. I fell to my knees, drew my dagger, and closed Lady Anne's hand around the hilt and bared my neck. If I can't have your love, give me your hate and kill me, I pleaded. For a moment I thought that she would, but she faltered. The dagger dropped from her fingers and clattered on the flagstones. I picked it up and pressed the edge of the blade to my throat. Tell me to kill myself, I sobbed. No, said Lady Anne. No, I don't want you dead. I gave him a most adoring gaze. But may I live in hope, my lady, I murmured. And we were married 5 days later. Now, we'll talk about the historical nature of this, but it was a different time. People did marry for power, and they would have, that did happen. I don't think the timings were quite like that, though. Anyway, although the king's health was failing fast, he ignored the doctors who advised him to rest and insisted on holding a banquet to honour my new bride. Invitations were sent out to the great and the good, and also to those who were not so good. On the morning of the banquet, I gave my faithful and highly inventive follower, Tyrrell, which I'm going to say is probably supposed to be Tyrell, but Tyrrell is my wife's maiden name. She's wooing from there. Say woo again, wife. I don't know if that's coming through the microphone there, but yes, we're on to Tyrrell. I gave my faithful and highly inventive follower, Tyrrell, a warrant permitting him and a companion to enter the tower and question the Duke of Clarence. Tyrrell returned alone at dusk. By the way, Tyrrell is also, I believe, the name of one of the people that was behind the killing of Sir Thomas Becket and King William II, William Rufus, who was killed out hunting by Walter Tyrrell, I believe. I know my Tyrrells, trust me. Anyway, so he's got a warrant permitting him and a companion to enter the tower and question the Duke of Clarence. Tyrrell returned alone at dusk. I found his report most gratifying, almost amusing. At the banquet, King Edward proposed a toast to the House of York. Got York! Go on. And added, I have good news concerning my brother Clarence. I have signed his pardon, and he will be set free tomorrow. I waited for the murmurs of approval to die down before I spoke. Your Majesty, I said hesitantly, has no one informed you? Oh, I just realised it could have been... Oh, it's fine, because they got the same voice. They're both from Yorkshire, so it's fine. He was going to have a higher voice, wasn't he? He was going to be up there. Oh, hello. Let's do that again, because that'll be fun. I have good news concerning my brother, Clarence. Not a lot, but I do have good news. I have signed his pardon, and he will be set free tomorrow with a lovely Miss Debbie McGee. Anyway, Your Majesty, I said hesitantly, has no one informed you? Clarence is dead. He was found this afternoon in the cellars of the tower, drowned in a barrel of wine. I often warned him of the dangers of drinking, but he paid no attention to me. He's sitting there, his beard growing. Nobody in the room went, chinny wreck on. Anyway, the king fell back into his chair and was racked by a fit of coughing. Blood gushed from his mouth. Servants, shouted Queen Elizabeth, carry the king to his bed. Call the... Oh, Queen Elizabeth. Now, I think she's going to be more like this. Elizabeth Woodfield was her name. Servants, shouted Queen Elizabeth, carry the king to his bed. Call the royal physicians. As the guests waited for news of the stricken king, they broke into groups and chatted. I found myself in company with the Duke of Buckingham, a man with a reputation for greed and treachery. I admired him. Who's saying this? Here we go. I wonder what the Queen's brother, Lord Rivers, is discussing so earnestly with Lord Grey, Lord Hastings, and the Earl of Richmond. I think they're all her brothers, actually. I could be wrong, but I think they're all the Queen's brothers. I said as I poured more wine into Buckingham's goblet. Let's have him speak like... Oh, yeah, we've got him, haven't we? He's going to be like that, because that's what I decided. How to thwart... Now, oh, there we go. We've reconnected. Sorry about this. There we go. You lot are very patient. I'm still speaking in this accent because I don't want to lose it. So, I don't know. I'm going to just keep an eye out. I don't know how much of this is going to be recorded. I don't know if the streaming thing keeps going. And there we go. So, I'm just going to keep going. I'd hope that we're all okay. But you guys, it might have jumped quite a bit. Did it jump? Let's close that and hopefully... right, give me one moment. Sorry, everybody. I do apologise. Just checking stuff. Should still be streaming. There we go. Right. So, with that up there... Right. Now, I don't know where you guys are. So, what I'm going to do is this, like that, and then look down here and see how long that comes up to. Let's just do a wave, hand wave, quite a bit. Still streaming. There we go. I think it missed a bit. I think it just cut out the bits that wasn't streaming. Literally, my internet just dropped out completely like I didn't have it, and then it came back. So I don't know why, but apparently I've been speaking like this to myself. Right, we're all good. We're still going. You are so patient. Thank you very much. I don't deserve this level of patience. You're wonderful. So, anyway. So, let me just, from things I said, let's just catch up with the, because I normally just, I'm sure Shakespeare didn't write this as a comedy. You're right, Megan, he didn't. Love the Swedish, a bit like the owner of the sauna in Frozen. Not good. No, it was nowhere near that good. Lord Rivers is Elizabeth Whitfield's brother. Grey is her son. Ah, yes, because she had a previous marriage, didn't she? Yes, that'd be that. Hastings is no relation. Thank you, Wikipedia. No, I'm calling you Wikipedia, not that you looked it up on Wikipedia. You may have. I don't know. Maybe everyone's internet all went off at the same time. Maybe there was just a problem with the... Yes. Anyway, do you happen to be with Virgin Media, Helen? Just let me know that. That'd be interesting to know. Right. Where were we? I'll go to the top of the page. So, no, in fact, just earlier. I wonder what the Queen's brother, Lord Rivers, is discussing so earnestly with Lord Grey, Lord Hastings, and the Earl of Richmond. We've established who they are. I said as I poured more wine into Buckingham's goblet. How to thwart your ambitions, my lord, he replied. I pursed my lips. Oh, and do I have ambitions? You desire to wear the crown, my lord, said Buckingham. And suppose I did wear it. Would you be for me, or would you be for me or against me? I inquired. Buckingham took a sip of wine. I am loyal. No, he didn't. He said it like that. I am loyal to whoever can afford me, he said. Would the Earldom of Hereford buy your support? Buckingham inclined his head. My lord, I am your man. At that moment, the doors of the banqueting hall flew back, and Queen Elizabeth appeared. Her hair was in disarray, and tears lined her pale cheeks. The king is dead, she announced. His dying wish were for his brother Richard of Gloucester to be appointed Lord Protector and given guardianship of our young sons. Well, I thought that was a weird thing to add with the first pronouncement, but okay. It was neither the time nor the place for grinning, so Buckingham and I smiled at each other with our eyes. Let's see if you can tell if I'm smiling. Here we go. Quick test. Am I smiling now? How about now? What about now? Am I smiling now? What about now? My eyes really give it away. I can't smile without my eyes. My dad does a creepy smile. I know it's Father's Day, so my dad does a creepy smile that goes like this, where he refuses to engage his eyes. He's a scary man, my dad. Anyway, and so I became guardian to my nephew Edward, Prince of Wales. Well, he's technically the king now, who was 12, and my namesake Richard, Duke of York, who was 10. Another Richard of York. Anyway, Edward would be crowned king, and I would rule in his name until he was 21. This arrangement caused me some distress. To wield power for a few brief years and surrender it to my nephew seemed unsatisfactory to me. I thought long and hard about what obstacles lay between me and the throne and how best to remove them. Well, I think we know what those obstacles are. Buckingham and I burned out many candles in our secret nighttime conferences, but our time was well spent. The nation was rocked by a chain of sensational scandals. Papers came to light that proved that Lord Rivers and Lord Grey were scheming to kidnap the young princes and help hold them to ransom. The traitors were arrested and beheaded. Now we've established that that's the Queen's family. That means it's also the Prince's family. To protect my nephews from other evildoers, I had them moved to the Tower where I could keep a close eye on their welfare. Chinny Recon, Richard. Chinny Rich on. Anyway. Meanwhile, Henry Tudor, Earl of Richmond, suddenly left England for France. Shortly after, my French spies reported that he was attempting to raise an army against me, but I was not alarmed by this. Henry Tudor had Welsh blood in his veins, and what Welshman had ever amounted to anything? Right, well, tell that to Gareth Bale in the future. Anyway, It was the first Welshman I could think of. That's sad, isn't it? There's got to have been some amazing Welshmen. The first one I thought of was a footballer. Probably past his prime footballer too. More disturbing was a tale that Lord Hastings had boasted of how I would never be king while his head remained on his shoulders. Tamsin said, nice and safe in the tower. I know, but actually, well, no, we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this afterwards. The historical things. It wasn't normally a place put for people that were going to be. It's often a place put for people's protection. Anyway, never mind that. Poor king. Yes. I had the strangest feeling that another shocking scandal was at hand. I don't know where he got the idea that this scandal might happen. It broke during a meeting that I called to decide on a date for my nephew's coronation. Hastings was present, along with Buckingham, Lord Stanley, him who sits on both sides of a field. Anyway, more about that later. And the Bishop of Ely. Ely. It's Ely, isn't it? Not Eli. It's Ely. Is it Ely or is it Eli? It's Ely. I'm going to stop talking now. Hastings made a long and flowery speech that ended with the suggestion that I should fix the day. My response was a loud groan and a heavy sigh. Hastings. Where's Hastings? Now we had some... Wait, he's got to have an accent. Where are we? Got to go right up. A bit of Welsh. I can't do Welsh. Welsh. Boyo. Okay. So... he's going to probably sound Swedish, isn't he, lad? Are you unwell, my lord? Asked Hastings. Sick at heart, I replied. Tell me, Lord Hastings, what sentence would you pass on those who had used witchcraft to harm the royal family? Why, Welsh, death. The word death, I can't get it. Hello, Boyle. Why, death? Death. Anyway, Hastings said without hesitation. Then you have passed sentence on yourself, my lord. It's tricky that. He tricked him into a corner there. For you and the late King Henry's wife cursed me with your dark magic. No, Boyle, cried Hastings. No, I echoed, raising my withered arm with its clawed hand for all to see. If I was not cursed, how do you explain this? Hastings' eyes were empty. I had him, and he knew it. Well, Boyo, cannot explain. Well, Boyo, hello, Boyo. Oh, Gav, I cannot explain. I can't explain it, my lord. Okay, officially, it is Ely, isn't it? Officially, I cannot do a Welsh accent. That's it. He stammered. The Bishop of Ely was dumbfounded. Luckily, Ely's near Cambridge, isn't it? So he can just go, this man should stand trial at once. No need for a trial, I said. His guilt is written on his face. Guards, take the Lord Hastings outside and put him to death. The hardest blow of all was quick to follow. Buckingham chanced upon an old chronicle that made it plain that my brother, while still an infant... Yeah, by the way, Nazi says the Boyle sounded great. Yeah, that wasn't written down though, was it? I could say Boyle. Anyone can say Boyle. Anyway, Popty Ping. My brother, while still an infant, had been betrothed to the daughter of a French noblewoman. The betrothal had long been forgotten, and rediscovery had far-reaching consequences. It meant that Edward's marriage to Queen Elizabeth had been unlawful. My nephews were illegitimate, and so barred from inheriting their father's crown. Just imagine my feelings when I felt about this. I know, let's get sad about it. Bands of Londoners took to the streets calling for me to be made king. These loyal outbursts were raised and were arranged by Buckingham, who also led the delegation of city worthies who implored me to take the throne. I protested that I was weak and unworthy, but at last they persuaded me to put duty before self, and I accepted the heavy burden of kingship. Think about it. I didn't even want to be king. Chinny and reckon. Events moved swiftly. 2 days before my coronation, I was told that Richmond had set sail from France in command of an invasion fleet. I ordered my navy to sink it. At my coronation feast, my wife Anne fell ill with stomach pains. and sickness, and had to take to her bed. That evening, Buckingham brought grave news to my private chamber. Always the wives end up snuffing it, don't they? Oh no, she hasn't snuffed it yet. Buckingham, what did he speak like? Oh, he spoke like, "Gales have kept your navy in port, sire," he told me. "Richmond has landed on the coast of Wales. Lord Stanley and the Bishop of Ely have joined forces with them." "Ha!" I scoffed. "After I've crushed them, I'll have their heads spiked on London Bridge." I lowered my voice. "Buckingham, issue a proclamation that the Queen is fast approaching her death." Hold on, man, look at this. Buckingham raised his eyebrows. "Is she, sire?" "If she is not, I paid good money to an apothecary who lied about the poison that he supplied me with." This is brutal. I said, "The Queen is too old to give me the male heir I need. When I've put down this rebellion, I'll marry my niece Elizabeth. She's young and strong. Oh, and kill my nephews, would you? By the way, oh, could you just bump off me brother's kids? Why not?" Buckingham cocked his head as though he had misheard. "Sire? My nephews are a threat to my royal line, and I want them dead," I snapped. "Majesty," blustered Buckingham, "give me a little time to—" "There is no time, Buckingham," I interrupted. Buckingham stiffened. "Then I'm afraid I must remind your Majesty that you have not yet kept your promise to make me Earl of Hereford." I smiled. "Promise, Buckingham. I promised you nothing. Leave me. We will speak once again once your memory has improved." When Buckingham had gone, I softly called out, "Tyrrell?" Tyrrell flowed out of the shadows and stood beside me. Now, I have to be very respectful of Tyrrell, so he's going to be very strong and noble because he's called Tyrrell, okay? Hope you understand the reason I have to do this. "Sire!" There you go, he was very bold, wasn't he? That's my respect for my wife's family. "I fear that Lord Buckingham will turn against me," I said. "He has no stomach for the business I've discussed with him." "Depend on me to deal with it for you, sire," said Tyrrell in his big bold voice that showed how noble he was. "Bear in mind that they are anointed princes," I warned. "Don't shed their precious blood." "Not a drop, sire," Tyrrell vowed. And he was true to his word, for later he described to me how he smothered my nephews. War gathered like clouds in a stormy sky. More nobles deserted me for Richmond, including Buckingham, who was taken prisoner by one of my generals in the course of a minor skirmish. The general sent me Buckingham's head, which I regarded as a great kindness. Aye, that's true. Every time someone sends me a head in the post, I think, "Oh, that's kind. That's kind." You know, there was this time when Maddie and Noah, they dropped a whole cake around my house. It was really nice, very nice cake and lots of treats. And they've dropped me around a cup that I use all the time, and lots of chocolate and sweets and Percy Pigs. It was very sweet of them. But not once have they dropped me round a head. Never. They have never dropped me round a single human head, which I find just disgraceful. Okay, so hope you're listening, Maddie and Noah. I expect a head. By the way, I definitely don't expect a head. I definitely don't. I want to make that clear. This is just a joke. Nobody sent me a head. Anyway, I regard it as a great kindness. Richmond's forces marched east. I marched my armies west to meet him until we faced each other at Bosworth Field. Nothing bad ever happened there. The night before the battle, I dreamed that I was visited by the ghosts of my victims who predicted my defeat. I woke up in a cold sweat. "My conscience gives me nightmares, but nothing else," I muttered to the dark. "I won wealth and power without it, and I made myself the man I am, the villain I set out to be. Never seen a head for sale on Amazon. Great delicacy, head with jam. Surely a head provides its own jam. Anyway, that's disgusting. That sly viper Richmond had outwitted me and attacked before dawn, when my forces were not fully prepared. His artillery blew gaps in my front lines, and his cavalry surged through. My soldiers might have rallied, but my best commander, the Duke of Norfolk, was reported slain, and his troops retreated in confusion. I tried to bring up reinforcements, but the cowardly Earl of Northumberland refused to obey my orders. The day was lost. The best that I could hope for was to make my escape. Then a volley of arrows cut my steed from under me. I staggered through the smoke of the battle, shouting, "An horse! An horse! Me kingdom for an horse!" Says it right there. As if in reply, a horse appeared. A dappled grey war horse galloped towards me, with Henry, Earl of Richmond, on his back. Doesn't sound good, does it? I saw him lean sideways, saw a light flash on the blade of his battle axe as he swung it, and my memories end there. I was wrong about Henry Tudor. He amounted to something after all. My crown was placed on his head, and founded a line of monarchs that still lasts to this day. For his descendants still live in royal palaces. As for me, I have shrunk to a breath of wind, a trick of the light, and a car park in Leicester. When I am remembered, if I am remembered, I am Richard the Bloody, Richard the Tyrant, who slaughtered the princes in the Tower. Well, it's better than being completely forgotten. In the end, villainy has granted me a kind of immortality. Now we'll talk about the historical inaccuracies in a bit. Well, this has been a really long Shakespeare Sunday, but I had like 5 minutes where I was trying to get the thing together. But it's very interesting, that thing there, that idea that it's better to be remembered a villain. It's definitely not. Like it's all well and good people saying people's names a long time afterwards, but it's definitely not better to be remembered as a villain. I would rather not be remembered than people remember bad things about me, like that time I didn't put the bins out. True, I didn't. I forgot. Didn't get put out. It's one of the few jobs I have. Shocking, I know. Now, historical inaccuracies, there's reasons behind them. We know that a lot of the stuff that happens in this isn't true. Richard III was very loyal to his brother, and by all accounts, he fought by his side, and certainly his brother was far more warfaring and well, this is what I'm getting to, not Tudor propaganda at all. His brother was very, very much, King Edward was a gory man. He loved a battle, and Richard fought by his side and things, despite his disability, which was scoliosis. So we don't know how. He would have had difficulty with his arm, but he would have had movement with it. I've been to the Richard III exhibition in Leicester, by the way, which is where a lot of this knowledge comes from, and I've seen where his. I've seen the bit over where he was dug up and everything. Very, very interesting. But yes, as Tamsin very correctly says, it's Tudor propaganda. This was written now. I don't know exactly. I'm pretty sure this was written during the time of Queen Elizabeth. And Henry Tudor, who obviously won that battle, Henry Tudor was Queen Elizabeth's grandfather. So you can understand why he might want to be showing the person that he beat in battle in a good light. The Queen, we don't know for sure if she went to any of Shakespeare's plays, but what we do know is that Shakespeare, when King James took over, Shakespeare was part of the King's Men. So there's definitely a royal connection that eventually sprung up. I wonder if it says when was it written. It might say Shakespeare blah blah blah. Oh no, that's the wrong one. Oh, its first great popular success. There we go. He wrote the play between 1592 and 1593. So yes, definitely Queen Elizabeth time. So sometimes you got to remember that these things are very historically inaccurate. And that are written for a reason. In fact, when we did Macbeth before, Macbeth was written during the time of James I, James VI of Scotland, and King James was supposed to be a descendant of Banquo. And so it's not a surprise that Shakespeare will write a play that puts Banquo on the throne in a very noble way, and says that the people that he vanquished to take that throne were incredibly evil. There's a very similar line running through these two plays. So it's Banquo, right? I'm not getting that mixed up. Yeah, it's Banquo's kids. So there we go. That is Richard III. Now, we've already chosen next week's. Thank you for all your comments. I will just have a quick go through. Shakespeare. Thank you, Shakespeare, for a gory story. Yeah, I do quite like this one, though. I do think it's a pretty good story. I do not dislike it in any way. Oh, what's just happened? Oh, I clicked on a thing and something disappeared. I wanted to do this to get rid of that Richard III bit. So it's a really good story, even though it's largely fictional. But I do know what we've got next. We have already made the decision to go with Henry V. Once more unto the breach, we will do Henry V. That's all I know. Again, Henry V is one that I know. He's quite a short-lived king. He wasn't around very long. And which way around does this go? That way. You don't care. He wasn't around for very long, but he, did a lot of there's a lot of fighting with the French, basically, and Agincourt will come up. That's all I know, and I know about once more unto the breach, my dear friends, once more, and close the wall up with our English dead, which is a bit, you guys go and die, and I'll hang back here. Although he was very, very much a soldier king. Anyway, we don't care about that. Thank you for joining me. Very, very kind of you. I'm just going to have a quick check, see who I've missed comments from. Oh, look, do you know what? I might have missed loads because I've got it on top chat instead of live chat. So let me have a look, just a quick look down here. Okay, well, I can't read through the whole thing because we'll be here forever. Funniest Richard III ever. I'm sorry, but I'm a serious actor and I take great offence at that. So I can't believe you just said it was funny. How dare you? Stay safe, Duncan, Auntie Tamsin, Maddie, Noah, Lozzie, and anyone else who joined. Lots of love. Thank you, Duncan. That's nice. Henry V brings back memories of GCSE English. I know nothing about it. I've never read it. Never read it. And that's just the way it is. And we're saving. We've got two more, whatever we're talking about, Shakespeare Sundays. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. Over on Twitter, I'm going to... over on YouTube, Twitter, where'd that come from? Over on YouTube, I'm popping you onto the final screen so you can see what's coming up. Quick reminder that you can, if you want, donate to Riley's Just Giving page. Scroll down my Facebook feed if you like, or see the link in the description of the YouTube video. Take care, everyone, on Facebook, where I'm saying goodbye to now. Bye, Facebook people. And take care, everybody, on YouTube. You are fantastic, and I'll see you all very soon. Bye-bye.